Welcome. This is Logan Cockrum with Action Coach Bluegrass in Southern Indiana, and you're listening to the Success Through Action podcast, where we're talking to successful business owners to hear their stories and how they took action to grow their businesses. So we are here today with David Horne. He is the current president of Louisville-based Tag Your Swag. Prior to joining the family business, David was in the soccer industry for 10 years, serving as the general manager for the Louisville Lightning and was the director of soccer operations at the University of Louisville. So how are you doing today, David?
Doing great, Logan. Thanks for having me.
What do we got going on in the background there?
Behind me is one of the larger embroidery shops in America. It's 500 embroidery heads.
And that's in Louisville?
Yep. This is one of our two 35,000 square foot buildings. And in this building, it's all embroidery. And in the other, we have screen printing, direct-to-garment printing, direct-to-film, laser etching, and UV printing.
Explain a little bit more about Tag Your Swag.
Sure. So my mom and dad started our company. This is the 38th year in business, and the name of the company had been Stitch Designers, and we have grown into one of the larger apparel decorators in America. We were, though, a decorator on this supply chain. So as a decorator, we kind of have been behind the scenes and doing just embellishment logo work for distributors and salespeople and also large uniform companies. So that's considered contract work in this industry. 4 years ago, we started Tag Your Swag as a direct sales channel. So with Tag Your Swag, we are now also serving as a distributor, working with end users. So a lot of B2B clients in construction and healthcare, SaaS companies, also teams and schools. So we've just created Tag Your Swag on top of this manufacturing foundation.
How long has Tag Your Swag been around?
We started in 2020, right when the pandemic started. It was the perfect timing to kind of take a risk and go out and do that. And so this is now the fourth year.
Why did you make the transition to the family business? I know that you had some other things going on that you're passionate about.
Yeah, the transition was always part of the plan. And I had some opportunities in soccer that were kind of dream opportunities to be a part of, being on staff at University of Louisville with a top 10 program there, and the head coach there, Ken Lola, two-time National Coach of the Year. So I was under the tutelage and mentorship of Ken, a great friend and mentor of mine. And, you know, we were aligned in my family that that's what I should be doing. And then, 2018 is when my dad asked me to come join the family business. My sister has also been here for 10 years, and my mom has been here for the entire 10 years as well. So it was kind of the plan, and then there was a moment in time when there was an ask, and I was ready to make a transition as well.
Did you ever second guess yourself?
No, it was very natural, and I was aligned also with Ken and the staff at U of L. It was time for a new challenge. 8 seasons is a pretty good tenure. And also I decided I wasn't going to go be a head soccer coach, which was a potential plan for me. So no, there's been no regrets. I look back fondly on my time there. I learned a ton, but it's never been like I've been so focused on what we're doing here. So it's been a nice transition.
Let's talk about your father for a second. So one of the things that we like to talk about on here is just the value of mentorship. And obviously coming from a background where your father has success as an entrepreneur, how has that helped you along the way?
It takes a multi-generational team to accomplish what we're doing. And so he is just a consummate entrepreneur, visionary, go for it, take risks guy. And it takes that mentality to build what he's built with the amount of equipment and people that we have on our team. And so his vision for that and his determination and to never give up despite all the adversity that we have been through. Without it, we don't exist. And I wouldn't have an opportunity to start Tag and to start into this new sales channel. And so what he did there is something I could not have done. But now I'm doing something that's sort of modernizing our business. I mean, it's something that at his age, at 66 years old now, it's a challenge for him to do what I'm doing. So there's a lot of synergy in that multi-generational aspect between my dad and I. And we're both visionaries. And through some outside coaching, learning about being aligned in our vision together to get that down into the company vision for 10-year, 3-year, 1-year, quarterly. So without him, this doesn't happen, and he's still making big moves for us, most recently purchasing an 80,000 square foot building for us to grab our 2 operations under one roof.
Shameless plug here. You guys are, at your scale, you're utilizing some coaching, I'm assuming?
Yes. Uh-huh.
How has that benefited your business?
Without it, we wouldn't be where we are today. And we're familiar with Action Coach and what a great reputation it has. You guys do a phenomenal job. And my message to anyone is to go and get coaching, because you need that third-party objective advice to see your blind spots. And we're huge believers in it. So we've been through a couple different types of coaching. One big one has been on EOS traction and having that implementer there. But also we had a group called Leadership Reality in town who has been a catalyst for us. So what they did was they came in, and especially with a family business, they helped us to see our blind spots, like I said, but also to get aligned in a vision, get a lot of the ideas and challenges in our heads down on paper and start creating a plan to attack them. And, it's one of those things where you think we've kind of gotten ourselves into a better spot than we were, but we don't need it anymore. We absolutely need it. It adds so much fuel to the fire, having the outside coaching, and I don't see us ever not doing that.
Yeah, so we're talking about mentorship. We're talking about coaching. Another question kind of in that same vein is how important to your success has been your broader social network. So not just your dad, obviously, and some of the contacts that he's had, but the wider business community.
Yeah, it's crucial. I mean, growing up in Louisville, which is, a lot of people say it's one of the biggest small towns in America. Having gone here to Catholic grade school at Holy Spirit and then St. X High School and then Center College, the network is just massive around here. I mean, you can just go to LinkedIn and you can see how many people you're connected to in so many different ways now. And so it's critical because there's that warm relationship, and people kind of feel like they know you. People want to do business with people they know and they like. And so that's super helpful to have a network like Louisville. Although I will say that we're not just a local reach for Tag Your Swag. We're actually in 35 states with 300 web stores. However, I think LinkedIn has shrunk the nation community as well. It makes it so that we're able to see face to face and meet people there and then Zoom call them into our factory just like this. And so we're forming relationships at some depth. It's not just a phone call and email, but we're actually seeing you, taking you through our facility. So the network is huge locally, but also I think just through social networking and through media, it has made it so that we can do business with so many more people so much faster.
So having this father figure in your life that's become a business mentor and probably friend, do you feel a personal responsibility to make mentorship part of your personal responsibility you take upon yourself for mentorship?
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite authors and speakers is Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N. And he was kind of the godfather of personal and professional development. And what he talks about is the greatest reward for everything that he's accomplished is the feedback and the letters that he gets from people telling him about the impact that he's had on their lives. And so that mentality is what I've learned from my mentors, my dad, also Ken Lola, the coach I had mentioned, John Roush, who was the president of Center College, and Dale Montgomery, who was one of my coaches. All of those guys are great examples of having the right legacy mentality. So what matters at the end is what lives you've impacted and what kind of impact you've had on others and their growth. And so I've seen that firsthand when I was at U of L, in that culture. And trying to do the same thing here. Definitely a strong responsibility to do it, but ultimately it's a win-win in so many ways, because at the end of the day, you never see a U-Haul behind a hearse, right? You can't take any of the stuff with you, but what you can take with you is the relationships and the impact that you have. So our goal is to help others become the best versions of themselves and achieve that. We have a lot of millennials and Gen Zers on our team, and I know it's going to continue in that direction. And one of my roles is to develop culture and develop people and to help other people become the best that they're capable of becoming. And whether that's with us or to set them up for their career and their next move, both sides. I mean, we're wide open to that. We hope we can grow so that we provide a place for them where we are. But if we can help other people to achieve new things and to move on with their goals and dreams, that's just the same to us, because that's our mission here.
So you mentioned Jim Rohn. What are some of the most influential books you've ever read?
Anything by him. And he and John Wooden were like my first major influences in personal and professional development. Their simplicity and the maxims that they teach are just so easy to digest and get going with. But from there, I really have been on a big journey in my professional development through Audible and audio listening. I have about 50 to 60 books there that several I've listened to multiple times. There's so many of them, but one that had a major impact was psycho-cybernetics, which is what the Green Bay Packers popularized, because it's all about like all the mental rehearsal and imagination practice to visualize goals and dreams and achieve them. That's, again, one of the grandfathers of like the movement. And beyond that, like books like Good to Great, that's a big one for me. Traction, which is the EOS book, majorly influential. James Hunter and the Servant Leadership Training Course has been really important to me, because servant-based leadership is the type of leadership that I attest to, that leading people not by force or by do this or else, but leading people by serving is how you build influence with other people, and they'll want to do stuff for you because you're the greatest servant. That whole mentality has been very influential. So those are some of the books.
Switching gears here, how has failure shaped your professional success? Obviously, we all fail sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you have any interesting anecdotes on that?
Yeah, I do. When I first came here, I was used to, at U of L, so much success and so much winning and so much of that winning feeling and that momentum. And when you're winning, everybody's smart, everybody's good looking, everybody's funny, everybody's cool. When you're winning, everything's good. But when you're losing, all of a sudden, everyone's thoughts are questioned and people aren't so funny anymore. They're not that smart and they're not that good looking. I know that to be true about coming from the sports world, because it happens in a group of 30 men year after year. You kind of see that trend. But winning and building upon that and that momentum, I forgot what that felt like once I kind of made the transition to the family business. I came at a time when we were on the tail end of kind of a family tragedy when my sister lost her late husband to cancer. We were also just in a bad spot with the business. Our margins had kind of shrunk. The industry wasn't in a great spot and profitability was waning. And we got to the point, quite honestly, where there were moments where my dad had talked about, this is kind of the end here. I don't know how we're going to do this, because we weren't able to make payroll. And our payroll was massive every 2 weeks. And so it just got to a point where it got really scary, legitimate fear. I went through that and got to the point where it was like, it was draining. I mean, it had me questioning the future, what we're going to do next. I was down on my knees praying about it. It was that tough. And what that did was it sparked new ideas and new ways of thinking, because I kept saying to myself, we have this great foundational company here. We have all these amazing people and equipment. What can we do? What would Marcus Lemonis and Mark Cuban, what would those guys come in and what would they say? So I started kind of having conversations with those guys in my head, or just with new ideas. And I determined that what they would say is, go ahead and sell direct through e-commerce. You need to build e-commerce platforms to sell it into your manufacturing so you can capture the margins. It would seem so clear from someone from the outside to say something like that. And so by failing, by having the pain and discomfort, we had to make a change. It forced us to think outside the box and have the courage to make the change. And now, because of having gone through that, I don't take it for granted at all how we're doing now. We're doing much better, and the future is looking very bright. We're gaining momentum. We're back to that winning feeling in so many ways. But I can't forget the feeling. It will always be with me. If I close my eyes and I marinate on it, I can feel it. Without having gone through that, without having gone through the valley, it would not feel nearly as good now to be in the sunshine again. So that's what failure does to you. It sharpens you. It gives you new ideas. And it also helps to really feel the true success, what that feels like.
So this pivot, this Tag Your Swag, came out of some of that? Am I reading into that correctly?
Absolutely. That's why we started it, because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you start making changes. But that happened with Tag. It was, wait a minute, why are we not also selling to end users? Why are we not capturing the margins of the middleman, essentially? Full respect for that business model. We also had to disrupt it. We also had to see that we could capture the margins and sell direct. So we started tinkering with little web stores, and we started giving them away to friends and family businesses. And little by little, we realized that this is legitimate. This is a very nice service that people want. And so we started figuring out ways to monetize it and grow it. And so we've put a lot of energy to it. The Tag team, which started out with just me and one other person, we then added a third and fourth. And now we have 14 people on the Tag side. And we've grown it from $500,000 in year 1 to 1.5 in year 2 to 3 million in year 3. Our goal this year is 4.5, and it's moving along really, really well, and it's got that momentum, and it's a process that's working. So yeah, Tag was definitely born out of all of that.
Did your coach help you with that transition at all?
we talked about the idea of selling direct versus just continuing on this manufacturing role. There was one moment, it was one sentence or a couple sentences that I remember. She said, Lauren Tharp's her name, she said, it seems like you should just build some of the foundation of that other direct sales channel while you're going along. If you think that's the future, start making some moves now. And I don't know why that was like a release in my mind to do something about it, but it was. And so, yes, so that outside coaching was a big part of it. And then we also had one other kind of industry wholesale vendor. He came and visited us, and he said to us, how much of your sales are direct versus what's called contract? And we're like, oh, we're 98% contract. And he's like, how are you still here? And we were like, well, we don't know. We barely are. And he's like, he also encouraged us. He said, look, it's okay to sell direct. You guys should just tinker around and start trying it. So we got a couple different encouragements from people, which is what we needed just to, from outside perspective, to say, hey, you can do this. You should try this. And so those were helpful, because without that encouragement from the third party, I don't know that we would have done it.
Are there certain qualities that you think that you have that make you coachable? There are certainly people that are resistant to coaching.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I subscribe to Socrates' whole notion that he is wise who knows he's not wise. The older I get, I realize how little I know. And I'm 37 now, so I'm still learning majorly in that regard. So am I coachable? I think yes. I think I definitely am, based off of a wisdom perspective of knowing, having the humility to listen to others, because I know that I can learn from other people's mistakes a lot faster than I can learn from making them myself, and also from people's success as well. I do think I'm coachable. I'm a pretty determined, I'm a visionary type person, have visions and determination, but I definitely want to collaborate and listen to get there for sure. So it's that balance, having a force of will, but also having the humility to listen to others. I've learned that value, and I subscribe to it for sure.
What advice would you give someone that's contemplating entrepreneurship?
I would say to absolutely follow your passion and go for it, because life's too short and there's plenty of time to go and work for other people and full time in those types of roles. And if you don't try it, you'll never know. And you're going to have one of two types of pain. You're going to have the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And the pain of discipline in that context would be trying something. Have the discipline to set aside time outside your 9 to 5 to tinker and try. Have the discipline to do that, or else you're going to have the other pain, which is the pain of regret that you didn't try. So you're going to have pain either way. And I know it's really hard when you think about people who are, I'm already busy, I have kids, I have 3 kids, so I can relate. There's still going to be pain one way or the other. So you got to make time, you got to try it. Surround yourself with people that believe in you. Read books that encourage you and help get you in the right mentality, because it's all out there. All of those circles of encouragement are out there, but there's also the other side's definitely out there. You can surround yourself with detractors, people who don't believe in what they're doing and their goals and dreams, that want you to stay where you are right now because it'll make them feel guilty for if you go on. It's all out there. And so what are you looking for? What are you surrounding yourself with? What are you feeding your mind? Those are going to be the biggest factors in your growth.
So next question is more like hindsight. So if you started Tag Your Swag again, what would you do differently?
I would say maybe I would have planned out some of the processes and all that, but and figured out, but I wouldn't have, because otherwise it would never gotten started. It's one of those things where if you wait till everything's just so to go, you'll never do it. So we kind of went when we weren't necessarily ready, but that was the time, because otherwise we wouldn't have learned about how we needed to develop and grow it. I don't want to say I don't have any regrets, because I probably do. I don't know. I have to think about that one. If I would have waited, I wouldn't have done it. You know what I would have done? I would have charged money for our web stores from the beginning. We were giving them away, and we were undercharging them and underpricing them. And so what that's done now is it's made it so that those legacy clients that were there at the beginning, we're kind of having to say, hey, we're now selling these stores for an annual fee that's a lot higher than what you were on. Can we work with you to get there with us? Because that makes it challenging. These people subscribed to our vision early on, and so we want to respect that. But also, we've realized that there's a lot of work to maintain our web stores, and so the compensation there is helpful. So I would have not devalued the product. I would have priced it from the beginning and probably priced it higher. That would have been what I did.
Okay. One more personal question here is, what have you learned about yourself during your journey with Tag Your Swag?
I've learned more and more about what type of personality I have, what my strengths and weaknesses are. It's been reinforced that, the disc profile, for example, I'm a DI, I'm a driving type personality. I'm big on culture, people, leadership, getting other people to buy into a goal and dream or to want to be a part of it, inspiring other people. That's my strengths. And so I know that. I know where I'm weak is in processes. I'm weak at integrating the vision. I get impatient. I don't have a lot of compassion or people who aren't at a very high standard. And so what I've learned through TAG is that's okay. My strengths and my weaknesses are okay. That's just who I am. And I need to really put myself in the right seat on this bus, stay in my strength zone, and surround myself with a great team of people. That's really just been accelerated through TAG because the wins and losses are not just soccer. Now it's about people's jobs and people's livelihoods and the growth and profitability of the company. We have to win here in order to help other people. The stakes are higher. And so it's more important than ever that I maximize what I'm able to bring to the team and help to shape the rest of the group around the goals and dreams.
As you know, Action Coach is a big proponent of DISC. So are you utilizing DISC for your team?
We are. We have our leadership group all assessed on DISC, and it's in our 1-year plan here to cascade that down to the next level so that we can have a better understanding of what drives people, where their strengths and weaknesses are, and we can treat them better and more accurately to how they respond. So yes, we have it just on our leadership group, but our ultimate vision is to have it through the whole company and also to have it to where it's displayed at the desk is one of the ideas so that when you walk by, you can kind of get a snapshot of who you're talking to, especially as we grow and we add new people. It'll just accelerate the learning about who people are.
How have you seen the positive influence your company has had on the community? You obviously are someone that takes pride in, it seems to be that you take pride in the lives of your employees. So have you seen the positive influence working for Tag Your Swag?
Absolutely. That's a big part of who we are. Since the 1980s, we've been a home to the refugee community. It started with the Vietnamese. When my dad hired our first production manager, her name's Manya. Her son, Homie, we call him, Hung Win. He's our production manager now of 30 years. And her other son, Young, worked for us for 25 years before he passed from cancer. So within that Vietnamese community, you talk about how do we impact the community. The Vietnamese community came and they stayed at the Kingston Apartments. And I grew up at 4, 5, 6 years old with my brother and sister going to these Vietnamese parties over there. And they became like family. Manya, who I mentioned, was like a grandmother to me. So what happened was all those people got out of the Kingston Apartments and all bought homes. And so the Vietnamese community is thriving in Louisville. And I think we've been a part of that. We've had over 100 people become U.S. citizens that have worked at this company. And we've had 10 different countries. And right now we have 5 countries in 4 languages. We have a lot of Vietnamese, Burmese, and Cuban communities here. And so that's our biggest impact. And it's been from the beginning. It's been who we are, treating people like we like to be treated. And now what's kind of amazing about that is that my son, his best friend in preschool, this was a few years ago, was a kid named Jaden. We kept hearing about Jaden. Well, we go meet Jaden and his parents at a school event, and it turns out they're Vietnamese. And D Tran, his uncle, works here. He's right over there. And D Tran is a big influencer in the community. He's a big entrepreneur, and he's in politics, and he's written books, and he started Louisville Institute of Technology. And D Tran and I really connected. And before you know it, my wife and I were at a Vietnamese party with our sons, with my generation. And we're sitting on the front steps and we're cheersing beers saying, yo. Yo is cheers in Vietnamese. And that's what I grew up around, was these yos. And this group is doctors, they're engineers, they're working at big corporations. They're all doing extremely well. And so to see that from the Kingston Apartments, all the way to this generation, now these kids hanging out with my son, blows my mind. It's unbelievable. And I think we've had a small part in some of that here at Stitch and Tag.
So I always kind of end this with one kind of funny question or just a curveball question. How about that? So
Sure.
Mine for you is, what is your best tip for making the world a better place?
Be the change you want to see. Don't try to change the world, change yourself. That's the key. And so many people focus on so much else out there that you can't control. What you can control is your own set of values and attitudes and principles, how you show up every day in your relationships. And through your own change. If you will change, everything will change for you. That's Jim Rohn. And Gandhi is be the change you want to see in the world. So those two line up, obviously, and that's the best advice that I could possibly think of for how to impact the world.
Well, David, it was a pleasure speaking with you today, and thank you for taking the time, and I wish you all the best in 2023.
Excellent. Thanks, Logan. Appreciate your time.
To everyone who tuned into this episode, thanks for listening to the Success Through Action podcast. Make sure to take action, and I'll see you next time.